Welcome to day 2 of filming for Freezer Meals. Today we are going to be doing lasagna. I ran to Dollar General and grabbed some lasagna pans. The lasagna pans, which are essentially 13 by 9 but not quite, were $1 and they only had a 2-pack. Then these ones, which were exactly the same thing, were $4.50 for a 2-pack. I don't know where the best place to buy these things is, but I'm assuming it's probably at Costco because you can buy them in bulk. Again, I think I mentioned in my last video that I thought I had this big stack of these freezer pans, but couldn't find them in my pantry in the basement. Had to go to Dollar General to get these. I have home canned tomato sauce that we're going to be using. It's kind of thin, so I think I'm gonna add can of tomato paste into it, and then I'm gonna add maybe some basil and garlic into the sauce. I have the pasta noodles, so I'm gonna actually heat up the sauce and get all the spices and stuff right. I've already made the meat, I just need to make the cheese, and then I can layer them together and put them in the freezer. So this is just kind of an assemble and go because I did the prep work yesterday. So I already browned all the meat, and I think I'm going for 3 lasagnas. Maybe I can get 4 lasagnas. This was a very exciting thrift store find. I actually found this at Goodwill for $12. It is a 7.5 quart large Dutch oven. Pretty pumped about that. Now I'm just gonna mix the meat with the sauce. I have an actual lid lifter thing, and it disappears almost every time I use it. It no longer exists. So I'm just gonna use a spoon. Yeah, it doesn't look that bad actually. Not super thin. I might need one more jar of sauce. I might. This actually smells really good. I might not even season it. Might not even season it. I do think I need one more jar of sauce though. Must call in reinforcements. I've washed these pans. Almost don't know how heavy duty they are. Like, is the taking off the glue and stuff gonna wreck them? I don't know. I need to wash because who knows who touched them. So wash them with soap and water before you put your food in it. I was looking at their kind of cheaper quality aluminum, maybe they're, yeah, probably aluminum, I don't know what they're made out of, pans with lids. So they're not disposable pans, and they were maybe $8. There's a girl on Instagram, I think her name is Katie Culver. She always links these reusable aluminum pans with lids. She's big on freezer meals. I like her. I think she has 4 kids. She always links these pans, and I'm like, I really want to buy those. That's how I feel about them. This is just meat that I prepped yesterday. So I'm gonna make the meat sauce for the lasagnas. Just like that. I'm just gonna dump it in and we're gonna heat it all up. It has a little bit of seasoning, not a lot. Probably the wrong spoon. In case I get questions about my hat, This was made by Nikki from the branded Bronc from a farmhouse bowl. So if you have any questions, I will link the hat down below, or her shop rather. Anyway, I washed the Dollar General pans. These are gonna need to be frozen almost inside another pan so that they have the stability to hold the weight of a lasagna. So again, I'm leaning more towards it makes sense to buy pans that you're gonna reuse instead of disposable pans. I'm not a disposable person. Like, I don't like disposable plates. I don't generally buy napkins. I may have a roll of paper towel, I think, which is shocking. I don't use things like that in my house. I'm just too frugal to do that. So I just don't like to buy things that I'm gonna throw out. So anyway, this is something that I don't normally do. And now I know why I don't normally do it. And I think over time I'm gonna start investing in the pans that have lids. I have some that are like Nordic Ware, I think is the brand, but they're much bigger pans. So I think I'm gonna have to start investing in like the smaller size pans. So this is going to come to a simmer. That meat was in the fridge, so all of that needs to heat up and heat all the way through. I'm gonna make the cheese and egg and seasoning mixture that goes in between right now. I forgot about all of the venison that I took out. It's thawed enough that I can put it in the crock pot, so I think I'm gonna do that first. Okay, I'm making cottage pie, which has venison, vegetables, and have a tomato-based beef brothy sauce in it for the cottage pie. So I'm actually just gonna put all this venison in here. And we are going to season it and then slow cook it until it's done and tender.
Okay, so I've been working on perfecting my venison recipes, and venison pot pie and venison cottage pie, venison stew, venison chili, things like that are great uses of venison. Now, my husband does not hunt, and we have been fortunate enough to have friends that do, and we appreciate the venison so much. I got a huge buck from one of my friend's husbands, and we have been enjoying that meat for over a year now. I think this is the last of it that was in my freezer, hoping and praying that we have some friends that deliver us another deer. But I like ground venison, and I also like these roasts that work great in recipes like this.
Okay, back to my lasagna sauce. That smells great. I seasoned that pretty well while I was making it before I canned it, so I don't think I'm gonna add any more seasoning actually. Okay, this bowl is probably bigger than I need, but it'll do. We're gonna do an entire package with 48 ounces of cottage cheese. I like to buy the full fat cottage cheese. I don't buy into the low fat is better fad. This is the whole milk ricotta also. My family doesn't like ricotta, but the last time I made lasagna, I made it with this ratio of ricotta and cottage cheese, and it was a hit. So that's what we're gonna do again. I personally like ricotta. And we're gonna do 6 eggs. I'm gonna crack them in a separate thing first. If you have chickens at home, you know. I got my stack of spices here. I've got toasted granulated garlic, which is an absolute must. I'm not doing thyme. Oregano is going in. I can't find my basil for some reason. I don't know why. Parsley. Not right now, honey. I can't watch you. I'm gonna put my rosemary actually on that venison too. So we're gonna kind of give it a lamb gamey feel. Salt and pepper, that's all that goes in here.
So it is time to finish seasoning. I grab my big whisk and start mixing together all of these cheeses and the eggs and make sure that that is completely stirred around and mixed through. After that, it is time to start assembling these lasagnas. It's extremely easy. I don't make lasagna very often, so I'm not entirely sure that I'm making it correctly, but this is how I'm doing it. And it still tastes good and everyone enjoys it and all the things get into the pan. So I'm going to call it, this is fine. So if this is not how you do it, that's fine. But this is how I am making it for my freezer. This hot sauce ends up sort of pre-cooking the noodles a little bit in the pan. And then by the time I cook it, maybe 350 for an hour. And then because it's so large, or if it's being cooked from frozen, you add about 50% more time, sometimes even an extra hour. You just want it to be completely cooked all the way through and bubbling. So when I'm freezing lasagnas, I will put the foil on the pan and then I will write the directions on the foil. And then after that, I will wrap it with plastic wrap really well. A really tight wrapping of plastic wrap, well, I don't know, 3-4 layers is usually what I do. And then I feel like it's good and does not get freezer burnt. Now, like I said, I got these pans from Dollar General and they were definitely cheap. And not necessarily inexpensive, but poorly made. If I'm going to be doing another freezer meal cooking day, I will definitely invest in the better pans because, yeah, those were a little sketchy. I had that in a glass 13x9 pan just to hold it still while I carried it from place to place. And then I carried it downstairs in another pan so that they would not give out and bend and me lose my entire lasagna. But once it got frozen, it should be fine. So I just cover the top of it with mozzarella cheese and then some Parmesan cheese and a little bit of parsley for color. And then you have a homemade lasagna for the freezer. Again, I put the instructions on here. I don't know if it's going to be me cooking it. Maybe my husband will cook it. The chances are probably 1%. Or mostly I'm thinking if one of my children was going to cook it, then I could just give them the instructions and they could follow that and cook it themselves. So again, this is my third lasagna. I was able to get 3 full lasagnas. I did get this one quite full. I felt like this one was like an extra large lasagna, but that's okay. I think I might have even labeled it as such as I was writing on the aluminum foil as I covered it. Just wanted to make sure that I notated to myself, like, this is an extra big lasagna, an extra layer. So anyway, I know that I will be very thankful that I have these in the freezer. I do not buy pre-made food. I don't ever buy like pre-made lasagnas. So having this in the freezer will definitely be a treat to myself, just in prep time and gifting time to myself during the day. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm just going to finish wrapping these up with foil and then more plastic wrap and of course labeling it before the plastic wrap. I didn't think to write on the foil, make sure you take off the plastic wrap before you put it in the oven, but I'm hoping that I'll be there to make sure that that happens. We are at least 25% full in this freezer. Once these freeze all the way through, all the other freezer meals I made yesterday are all the way frozen. So once these freeze all the way through, then I can rearrange them and stack them differently. But for now, they're freezing flat. Okay, I'm out of breath. I just carried a bunch of stuff up from the fridge in my pantry downstairs. So I grabbed a bunch more peppers. These were actually on sale at Meijer yesterday. So a bunch more peppers, onions, cheese, and breakfast meats. So what I'm gonna make is the egg protein bites, and I'm going to make breakfast burritos. I need to check and see how many eggs I have right now because I have chickens and I just recently sold 10 dozen eggs. So we need to go check. So there's one thing about making freezer meals when you're doing things like this for other people. Oftentimes you can have friends come and join you with this. And it's really great having multiple people in the kitchen because that means that someone is washing the dishes as you go. Now I'm the only one in the kitchen this time. So that means that I'm doing all of the dishes for not only the dishes that we're using as we're eating throughout the day, but also all of the dishes that I am getting dirty from doing all of these freezer meals. And it is a lot of dishes. So I'm quickly running through and trying to get all of the big things washed. I've got a bunch of big bowls from yesterday. I've got a bunch of just pots and pans and things like that that I just wanted to wash really quickly and get drying before I started on to the next. First step with making the breakfast burritos is the meat. We're going to brown up the meat and we're gonna chop up all the veggies to go into it. So that's what we're doing now.
I was never the one to write up a song for just anyone. I was always the one to find myself lost in long conversations, oh. Cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you keep on waiting. But then you came along and proved me all wrong. I was so mistaken. Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby. I was never the one to give up the ghost. No, I was so stuck. I kept on playing my part, wanting to give up cause nothing was changing. But with you it's so clear, and now that you're here I see colors in every spectrum. Guess I finally learned my lesson. Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby. Myself, and I'm thinking out loud, we won't need nothing else for the rest of our time. And I know it so well, I will always be by your side. Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby. Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free.
Okay, now it's time to to crack about 50 eggs. I'm not exactly sure how many eggs we're gonna put in here, but quite a few. The next two things I'm doing are breakfast burritos and the protein egg bites. The protein egg bites are essentially just a scrambled egg in a muffin tin with a little bit of meat and cheese and vegetables in it, depending on, you can put whatever you want in there. And the breakfast burritos are kind of the same thing, a lot more cheese wrapped in a burrito. I think I'm trying to decide if I have hash browns, I may use those. If I have hash browns, I'll use them. If I don't have hash browns, we'll skip it this time. I was in the grocery store while I was shopping for this, and I happened to notice breakfast burritos and how much they cost when you buy them at the store. You can buy 6 of them, and they're like $6, $7, $8. That's crazy to me. This is the kind of thing that I'm like, but if you make it at home, you could spend $7 or $8 and get 10 times as much. So especially when I have 6 kids, I just think of stuff like that all the time. While we were there, I was even showing my 10-year-old daughter who was with me, like, hey, look at those breakfast sandwiches. Look at how much they cost. Look at those breakfast burritos. It was just sort of like walking through the freezer aisle and taking note of how much money pre-made food costs. So she was kind of amazed that it costs that much money, especially because I just make it at home. One of the things I do want to say about these breakfast burritos too is that they are great for camping and for travel. So if you have access to a microwave, that's really helpful. These can be microwaved, but I think they're even better if you heat them up on a cast iron. If you've got access to both a microwave and a cast iron, that's also great because you can heat them up and then just griddle them, and so they have like a crunchy outside, and that's also delicious. We like to serve these with hot sauce. Another way to warm these up is in a Dutch oven or a covered glass dish or something like that in the oven, and you just put the breakfast burritos in the dish and then cover it and warm it up that way until they're all warmed all the way through, and that will also warm them. These are super convenient to grab and go. My husband likes to take them to work and he can microwave it when he gets there. I was kind of cracking up here because the only scissors that my kids could find were these like scalloped edge kid scissors, which was super annoying because they were not working well. The knives were not working well. It wasn't until the very end that I finally found my scissors for my kitchen. But this goes much faster if you still have the tool where the cutter is still on the box for the plastic wrap. So this doesn't have to be as slow as I was going, which made it extremely tedious. But I ended up making, I think it was 32 breakfast burritos. Freeze them flat. Okay, now it is time to make these protein egg bites. As I was starting to make this, I was putting 1 egg in each cup, which would be fine if I wasn't adding more ingredients to the cup. However, I realized at this point that my eggs were really large, and so I just pulled them out of each of the cups and I whisked them really quickly, and then I poured them back in there. And I had enough for 12 cups. So this is the way to go. You definitely want to whisk it first so that you can make sure how much you're getting in each cup. And these things are going to expand. So I added more eggs and filled the rest of the cups, and then from that I started adding in the peppers and onions and meat mixture that I had made after I salted and peppered everything. So I'm just scooping into each of the cups just about a tablespoon of the sausage, egg, onion, and bell pepper mixture. And on half of these egg cups I did end up putting cheese, and the other half I did not. So I think I've mentioned a couple times that I don't eat dairy, and then my youngest does not eat dairy. And so we have both dairy-free and dairy options in the house. Checking in on my venison that was in the slow cooker. That's ready to go in the venison shepherd's pie. But it's now 5:30 and I no longer want to make it. I am very tired. It is 5:40 p.m. 5:45. Okay, I just wanted to show you why I really like these silicone muffin cups, because they work great for this. Nothing sticks. They just come right out. They just come right out, just like that. Or if you have protein bowls, these make great things to have in your freezer. So here are my dairy-free protein cups. Here are the ones with cheese. I will label them separately. My family is so rude because they still want to eat dinner while I'm cooking. So those are 2 rotisserie chickens that I got from Costco, and I'm going to just heat them back up. I'm not even sure what I'm going to do as a side, but I'm going to throw that in the oven now. I'm trying to push through. I've got vegetables to chop for this venison pot pie, venison shepherd's pie. I'm not even sure what I'm going to make, but if I make the filling, I can put it together much faster tomorrow whenever I get back to it. Don't mind if I do bacon grease. Don't mind if I do. Time to freeze the cheese egg bites so that they don't all stick together once I freeze them. So if you freeze them not sticking together, then you can throw them all in one bag and they should be good. We are still softening the vegetables for the venison. Again, I haven't decided, is it going to be a cottage pie? Is it going to be a pot pie? I don't actually have pie crust right now. I had thought about buying pie crust. I have made pie crust from lard, my home rendered lard, and I didn't like it. I don't know if I just did it bad, but I'm trying to do dairy-free. And most of your store-bought pie crust are dairy-free. They're made with oil. So I'm kind of leaning towards that might be what I do. If I make it to a store, I might buy a couple packages of store-bought pie crust, and then I can just quickly finish this into a pot pie, a venison pot pie. One thing I like to put in a venison pot pie though is little chunks of potato. So I'm trying to decide between venison shepherd's pie, which has the mashed potatoes on top, which I do think I have all the ingredients for, or the venison pot pie, which we all love also. I'm kind of leaning towards actually the shepherd's pie with the mashed potatoes on top. That just means I have to peel, chop, boil mashed potatoes. So, and then whenever you make a shepherd's pie, you also put the egg yolk in it too, so it makes it more rich on top. I can't have milk, I can't have butter, so if I'm serving something with beef, I will put beef broth in the mashed potatoes to be the liquid, or almond milk, and fake butter, so like a dairy-free butter. I'm cooking for 8, and so that means my meals are probably gonna be very large. So that being said, if you cook the same quantity of food that I'm cooking right now, it might last you double the amount of time or triple the amount of time that it lasts us. Okay, I'm gonna make a roux with some fake butter and some flour, salt, pepper. I took all the veggies out. I'm gonna add in beef broth, tomato paste, beef bouillon, and then all of the broth that was made in the venison that I was cooking in the slow cooker today. So this is 2 quarts of beef broth and 2 6-ounce, 6 ounces, is that how big? 4 ounce? I don't know, the little jars of tomato paste and some seasoning. Then I think this might be not big enough for all of the meat and all of the veggies. So I may thicken this and then pour all of this on top of this in the crock pot. I might pull that out and slice it, and then I'll just put all the other ingredients in there. So I ended up having almost a full 13x9 of this venison here. So I'm gonna shred it chop it, I don't know exactly what. And I'm actually gonna mix this in with that sauce. Okay, gotta pull out my Jamorel bowl because this is already full. So I'm gonna put all of the filling in here and go from there. This needs green peas. When I added in the frozen peas, what ended up happening was that this brought down the temperature of this dish all the way to room temperature. So that essentially I was able to put it right into the freezer bags instead of having to cool it down first. So that was great, super convenient, and like a bonus side effect to adding all of these peas because again, they were frozen. So what this did was bring down the temperature all the way. Okay, executive decision made. I put them in gallon Ziploc bags. This way I can make soup, I could make a shepherd's pie, or I could make a pot pie. So this is gonna be like a big old pot pie or 2 pot pies or something. So this is what I've decided to do. This is 4 more meals. The last steps in this freezer meal prep day 2 was putting all of these frozen egg bites that I had frozen flat on this pan with some parchment paper into a gallon Ziploc bag. So it's labeled, they're already frozen, so that means that they're not gonna stick together. And then I can put them back in the freezer from here. Here's how my freezer is looking. Everything in here is frozen. So we have the venison pot pie. One of the things you gotta be careful of when you're filling your freezer like this is that you don't put it in here not frozen and then rearrange, because this stuff can turn into like puzzle blocks in here and it can freeze essentially in place and then you won't be able to get anything out. So you have to make sure after you've frozen things that you move it so that it doesn't, you know, it doesn't like get stuck in one position, so that you are able to access everything in your freezer. So we've got meatballs all the way down at the bottom. See, this stuff even I'm a little concerned about being too snug and tight in there. I don't want to not be able to get it out. So anyway, this is how it's looking. We are maybe a third of the way full, which is really exciting. Okay, that's better rearranged. Some of the stuff that I freeze flat, I can put upright like that. And a lot of the stuff I freeze like this. So I can easily just take that out, thaw, and put in the crock pot. So that's how this is looking. We've got the meatballs, we've got the breakfast burritos, we have several lasagna. Underneath lasagna is a bunch more food. This is 2 layers thick on this side, and here's some more breakfast over here. We're getting there, we're getting there.